Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
All right, so you just came back from another, 6 months? Trek to Ghana? Is that
every
correct?
6 months I go. Every go twice a year. I get to go about 3.5 weeks. Just came back at the end of September. An amazing trip, productive, amazing trip. Even 3.5 weeks is not enough. I'd love to stay there 4 or 5 weeks, but as a pediatrician, my group is looking for me after a while.
I would imagine.
My patients are looking for me after a while.
He's going AWOL.
That's it.
So let's kind of, we're going to probably be all over the board a little bit today, and that's great. Talk about the current project that was part of this last trip.
Yeah, let me tell you about it. So Hope for Ghana is doing a lot of stuff with education, and we'll talk more about that, and a lot of stuff with providing access to clean water. And I accomplished a lot in these last few weeks. So my team, it's a local team of Ghanaian workers, masons, carpenters, electricians. I got a whole crew over there.
Okay.
We're building our second school. Wow. So we're in a remote village. When I tell you, Eric, remote, you've never seen remote like this. I'm talking like dirt roads. It's remote. It's village life, mud huts, no electricity, no running water.
You folks are staying in those accommodations as well. How's
so
that work?
I stay a little bit outside of there. I have a guest house outside with more accommodations. But this is really remote, and I found this village because these kids would have to walk. If I don't build a school there, these kids would be walking miles to get to the nearest school. Or they wouldn't go to school at all.
Right.
That's what happens because parents can't send like a 4, 5, 6-year-old on the roadside miles. So they often maybe don't even go to school till like their age 8, 9, or 10. So imagine now you can build a school there, and now 3 and 4-year-olds can go.
Right.
They're going to school like 5, 6, 7 more years than they would have gone. So my team, we're in the middle of, this was the second phase of building our second school.
Okay.
So 6 months ago, we built the foundation and a little bit of the structure. And then in September, we went from what's called the lintel level up to the roof. We actually have a roof on there.
It's amazing.
It's so beautiful. And so I'll go back in the spring, and we'll put the final pieces together, painting it, putting a library in there, desks, windows, doors, all the final touches.
Wow.
And open it up as a formal school. Yeah,
it has to be
so
amazingly rewarding. It has to be.
It's so rewarding. So this is our second school. The first school was finished about a year ago, September of 2018. I opened my first school,
right?
And it's beautiful. Now I'm seeing it flourishing. I'm seeing a headmaster. There was a sign there that's a visionary. He wants to make that school the best school in Ghana. And
so there's pride.
It's pride. It's absolutely pride because he knows what's been given to that tiny village. That was also another very remote village. It's called Gakpokope. I bet you can't say that, Eric.
Again, once? I'll try.
Gakpokope.
Gakpokope.
Gakpokope. You're close. That was good. It was good. It's okay. The Ghanaians laugh at me when I say it too, but they really laugh
I'm
when you
laughing at myself.
Right? It's okay. But yeah, so that school is flourishing now. To go there, man, and see a school that started from 0 students now has over 70 students.
Wow.
3 teachers, a 4th one coming. It's beautiful. It's
70
beautiful.
Students.
Already over 70 students, and more coming as we speak, as I hear about it. So I'll tell you about that.
There is and that always gets back to what I've always believed. There is a general thirst in the human experience to learn. Would you agree?
Yes. The greatest gift you can give, there's so many, but one of the greatest gifts is education. Education is a chance where you can level the playing field, right? You give them opportunity. You're giving them knowledge. You're giving them power to function in the world. You know, so sure. So these are communities where I'm going. I'm finding communities that they have no access to school, or like I said, otherwise they would walk. They would walk miles to go to school. In Ghana, they have this concept that's really interesting. It's called schools under a tree. So there are kids. Imagine learning under a tree. They have no schools. The government can't afford to give them a structure. So these kids set up some chairs. They tack a board onto the trunk of the tree, and they use that as a blackboard. And teachers come and teach them. So you're at the mercy of the weather, the scorching sun, the rain, all that stuff. How can they learn like that? It's horrible, right?
We can't even fathom what that is. I mean,
Exactly.
you know,
We don't understand. We don't understand. So to give them a school, give them a library within a school, and that's how my work started. We'll talk about
we'll
that.
get there.
Kind of the libraries, to give them books, to give them a school that has textbooks. Most of the schools in Ghana don't even have textbooks, or they might have 2 textbooks for a classroom of 50 people. It's amazing what you can do. It's amazing what you can do. So now I'm very proud. We're building our second school. And it'll be finished in the spring when I go back.
All right. So let's do the Eric McKenna Project Deep Dive, Doctor.
I love it. I need a drink for this one, right?
That's right. A comfortable deep dive. Yeah. So the next show, when the doctor comes back for show number 2, hopefully he's going to have in the evening. We might have alcohol on that show, Doc.
I like that.
We're in the
relaxed,
afternoon
right?
here today because I want to keep it professional. So this is a very accomplished guest we have here today. We're on our best behavior here.
That's it.
Talk about childhood. Where are you originally from? Pittsburgh?
No. So I grew up on Long Island.
Okay.
A wonderful family. We're 4 kids. I have an older brother, 2 younger sisters. And we grew up in typical suburbia of Long Island, outside of New York City. My parents chose Long Island because for the school system. It was just a better place to raise kids in terms of better schools than probably the New York City schools.
Okay.
So grew up there. My family has migrated into New York City. After all of us kind of grew up, went off to college, my parents quickly moved to Manhattan. So they're in New York City.
Okay.
And and most of my siblings have followed. I'm the guy that stayed behind. I'm in Pittsburgh.
You're the outlier.
I'm the outlier, but I'm the vacation resort. They love coming to visit Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is the vacation resort for them.
You don't hear Pittsburgh and vacation too often together.
It's a vacation resort. Ask my parents. They love it.
Amazing.
Yeah, they've even thought about moving to Pittsburgh. They love Pittsburgh. My whole family loves Pittsburgh.
How was childhood for you? You a happy kid, or do you look back at it, relatively speaking? You had it was good for you.
Very happy kid. I was a studious kid.
Okay.
But it was good. It was good. But I think I loved moving on after childhood to college and beyond. I felt like I flourished in college. That's when I kind of found me. That kind of.
So you were always kind of looking ahead then as a child, which was not always.
Yeah, maybe, but I think it just happened. It just happened.
Okay.
But childhood was good. It was good. It was.
Where did you do your undergrad?
So I went to University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia and loved it.
Is that Penn?
That's Penn.
Penn, yeah.
Penn.
Where is that? It's in
West Philadelphia.
West Philadelphia,
it's in
right?
West Philadelphia.
Right.
Minutes walk from Center City.
Okay.
And I loved Philadelphia. So I had grown up. My mother's whole family is from Philadelphia. So I grew up. Our vacations were going to Philadelphia to see my grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins.
Right.
So Philadelphia was kind of home for me. And then when I visited Penn, I knew as a high school senior.
That was the place for you.
This is the place for me. This is the place where I'm going.
Okay.
And it was beautiful. It's just a beautiful experience.
Any moment in your life that might have been the trigger for medicine for you?
So I kind of always knew. I'll tell you an interesting story.
Sure.
Pediatrics was not the first reason I went to medical school, in fact. But I kind of knew medicine through high school. At the end of high school, in college, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. But when was it? Probably in college. Early in college, I did a summer program.
Okay.
At Bellevue Hospital in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you know anything about Bellevue Hospital is a general hospital. What it's known for, you may have seen in the movies, is its psychiatric ward.
Right.
Really an incredible psychiatric ward. And I did a lot of work. I did some volunteer work, I think over a couple of summers, working with interesting people, schizophrenics, bipolar people. And I saw psychiatrists really kind of get into their mind and really help them, really do some amazing things with them. And I thought, wow, what if I could do that? Really get, because those minds, they're complicated, right? They're more than complicated. And I loved it. So I was asking the main psychiatrist at Bellevue, what should I do? Should I get a clinical degree, like a PhD, like a clinical psychology degree, or become a psychiatrist? And it was his advice, kind of the way of the world at that time, was towards medicine. Moving towards medicine. So he convinced me to go to medical school to be a psychiatrist. So that was my first thought when I went to medical school. And in med school, you do your first 2 years just in the lecture hall. So you don't really You don't really fine tune what you want to do.
Right.
It's all, neuroscience, biochemistry. But then by the third year, you're required to do like a couple of months of psychiatry, a couple of months of pediatrics, a couple of months of surgery.
Right.
And then you really kind of get a taste of everything. And I did my psych rotation. And it just wasn't as interesting. It was like middle-aged man that was just everyone was just unhappy.
Okay.
I felt like I was just in this unhappy place. I don't like my life. I don't like my wife. I don't like this. And I really, and then I did my peds rotation, and that just, that's in my DNA. Just helping kids, working, just enjoying that. Watching kids grow up, being part of their life from, development and infancy to, when they go off to college. I loved that.
So that was your passion.
That was my passion. I realized quickly the psychiatry was not the way for me. And so once I had done that peds rotation, I knew where my destiny was, and I've loved it. It's for me, it's like working in a playground. It's just fun.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
I think, but would you not agree? It does take a special type of person because there's a lot of patience and probably more patience involved with that field, right?
Absolutely, there's a lot of patience. I think in all of medicine you have to have a lot of patience, but yeah, in pediatrics, a lot of patience. You're dealing with so many populations. You're dealing with the parents. That's a challenge.
Sure.
You're dealing with the patient, the kid himself, and at different ages, it's more of a challenge. An infant can't tell you what's wrong.
Absolutely not.
Right. And then you get towards the adolescents and college kids that have a whole different set of challenges. Interesting, fascinating, kind of my favorite age group.
Okay.
But different set of challenges. And then you have, of course, the external forces around us now, like grandparents who want to give advice, the internet, where they get a lot of advice.
What's that called? WebMD?
Exactly.
I will never go there.
Eric, Dr. Google is
now
the most important doctor in their life sometimes. No, but
it's terrible.
It is. Yeah, so there are a lot of external forces, but you need a lot of patience. You need a lot of patience to understand, and you have to. Each population is so different. The 2-year-old, the 5-year-old, the 15-year-old, kids with special needs. So you're always, every time you walk in that room, it's something different.
So it's mentally challenging and fascinating for you. It's fascinating,
but challenging. Sure.
I can imagine.
Sure. Every like I said, every time you walk in that room, you don't know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? It's something new. It's something new.
How did you get to Pittsburgh?
So from Penn, I went off to medical school in Vermont, University of Vermont in Burlington, which I loved. I loved the medical school in Vermont.
Vermont's beautiful, though, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
I find it beautiful. Eric, I'll tell you when I find it beautiful. In the summer, which is very short.
In the summer. Correct. Unless you're a skier.
Yes, I wasn't a skier. So the winters were brutal for me.
Sure.
They were brutal.
No,
I couldn't wait to get out of there. But it's beautiful. Oh, you have Lake Champlain there. You have, it's a college town. You have this, I forget the main street, what it's called. Oh, I think it's called Main Street, actually. Yeah.
Not it.
It's like Main Street, right? And it's cute. It's beautiful.
It's quaint.
It's quaint. It's so quaint. Beautiful. Small town, which I didn't mind. I didn't mind that. But the winters are like from October to April. That was a lot for me. But I loved it. So Vermont, I'll tell you what I loved most about Vermont. It taught you... I think they emphasize just taking care of that total patient, really dealing with the person. Not the emphasis wasn't always on the neurochemistry or the biochemistry. Not this. It was more taking care of people.
Did it have anything? Did it have anything to do with the pace?
A little bit of the pace. They even the curriculum. I'll tell you. So very different than most med schools. Most are 2 years of lecture and then 2 years of clinical rotations.
Okay.
They do 1.5 years of lecture, so that they put more of an emphasis for 2.5 years on clinical. So they want you to do more hands-on, more dealing with the patient. And the emphasis when you had, what my teachers taught me, just dealing with looking at the whole total patient. Don't focus on a problem, but that problem is part of a person, and that person is part of a bigger life. You have to look at the whole thing.
It's interesting.
It's really
it's very interesting.
Yeah, so it gives me a nice perspective of how I deal with my patients today.
That was my next question. So, do you think your mannerisms and style were crafted there?
I think so. Absolutely, absolutely. And if I can boast, can I boast?
You certainly can. It's your show.
Eric, this is your show.
This is your show, pal.
It's our show, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair
so
enough.
I don't win a lot of awards in my life. It's which is fine. It's humbling, but it's great. I won an award in medical school, the Lamb Fellowship Award.
Okay.
Named after Dr. Lamb, I guess, for care, and I believe it was voted by my peers.
Which is always the best awards.
Right, yeah, because your peers know you. They really know you, and it shows the respect of someone who's in the same field, right? That, wow, they voted for you. It was about the care of that total patient, right? And I think they watched how I dealt with patients, whether it was a man with AIDS or a child with cancer. They saw, wow, it wasn't just the problem at hand, but I dealt with the whole entity, the person, the life he had, the life of the people he was surrounded by. So it was good. It was a proud moment.
That's the most fascinating thing to me about medicine, period, is that the knowledge, the internal confidence you have to pursue the career. But once you become a practicing physician in any capacity, that whole other dynamic of, they call it bedside manners. I guess that's an overused term, but it's a lot. It's a lot, right? And the entire approach to the patient. To me, the great physicians really get it. But you have to be made up a certain way, right? I mean, if you're a stoic person, you go into medicine for a specific narrow type of surgery, maybe where you don't truly have to interact that much.
Right.
You can get away with being yourself, right?
Yeah.
What you were describing to me is the most fascinating part about medicine to me. It isn't the lectures and getting through the studies. It isn't even the residency. It's when you choose a practice. First, what practice do you choose? And number two, how do you approach the patient beyond medicine?
Medicine, I think we think of it, especially when you look on WebMD or Google, it's a problem. Plug in the symptom. Put it in the browser. Here's the symptom, and here's your diagnosis. The diagnosis may have nothing to do with that symptom. Maybe there's so many other issues that could be going on in that person's life that are causing that symptom. So you have to look, especially in pediatrics, you have to look at the total patient. And in pediatrics, it's more than even the total patient; it's the total family. Really, the family dynamics that are. So
that's way more encompassing than what you really learned in med school.
It's so much more,
right?
So a lot of it's innate. You have to have that feel, but a lot of it's experience, but a lot of it's that innate what you want to put into it, and it's bedside manner. That's what I pride myself on. I always think that anyone, if you're comparing on, like when you go to these doctor reviews, what do they call, like rate your doctor?
I know of them, never saw one.
Right. So anyone can check if he listened to it, my heart well, listens to my lungs, ears, nose, throat, whatever. Anyone can do that. But what I think a doctor really brings, it's all the other stuff.
The intangibles.
The intangibles, that bedside manners. How does he listen? How does he put everything together in terms of what's going on in your life, what you need right now, more than just it's not a single symptom at all.
Because if a patient doesn't feel that the physician cares,
that's everything. They're going to walk out and they're going to be dissatisfied.
Especially in today's very reactionary culture with the web. I mean, it's brutal at times.
It is brutal at times.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Google is my biggest competitor. It's not the pediatrician down the street.
It's amazing.
It's Google, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because if you give them the gift of, what you can bring to the
table,
if
you're giving it yourself,
that's it. They'll come back. They come back and they love that. They love that.
I think that's because wouldn't you agree, doctor? That's the human experience. We want the genuine emotion from other humans, especially those who are there when we're fearful, when we're vulnerable, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that when you receive that from a physician, I can speak to my own physician, wonderful man, and surgeons I've had, and some I didn't care for, but most I did. But the ones I truly didn't think much of didn't really show much compassion or really any interest in me in the scope of what was happening. Does that make any sense?
Right.
Just a human reaction.
Absolutely right. No, it is. It's even small things. I know a patient of mine who now brings his kids to me. It's wonderful. So at the time when I saw this guy, probably in high school, maybe 10 years, let's say 10 years ago, 15, maybe more, 15 years ago, I knew he played for Penn Trafford. He was the running back for Penn Trafford. And I would always watch. I love looking at the line scores on Saturday morning after the Friday night games.
Sure.
Like who scored, who was the quarterback that threw for the most yards, who was the running back that ran for the most yards. They are my kids, right? They are my patients. So I called this guy on Monday morning to congratulate him because he was a running back for PT and he was successful.
Wow.
He was a beast.
Wow.
He couldn't believe, he still remembers to this day that Dr. Greene's the guy that not just took care of me, the sore throats and the ear infection, that's easy, but that took the time to call me on Monday morning to tell me how proud I was of him. So little things, right?
But you're just being yourself.
That's it.
Yeah, and but I think the niceties, the small things in life, the gestures, they go a long way.
They go a long way.
They go a long way in people's stories. That child remembers that.
That's it.
It's part of the story, and I think that's, again, human interaction. And I think a lot of us miss a lot of opportunities, me included, at times, because we're doing everything else. Life's so fast, right?
Right. And even in the doctor's office, look, you're seeing patients every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. It takes a lot of patience to say, I'm not going to run next door. I'm going to spend a little extra time here because I know this kid needs me, and I see that there's something more to the story than just the abdominal pain or the headaches. Why is this kid getting abdominal pain for the last 6 months every morning? Why is he getting headaches? What else is going on in his life? And you have to take that time. It takes a lot of patience.
I can imagine.
Sometimes the parent next door doesn't like that. But
sure. That's
but it happens, right?
Speaking as a patient,
right?
sitting in a waiting room,
you would not like seeing Dr. Greene. You wouldn't like seeing me then. I'm just saying. But once I'm in that room,
it's awesome. Yeah,
it's awesome, right?
Anxiety is there. Yes, I can assure you.
That's it.
Without a doubt. So again, you're in Vermont. You leave Vermont.
So I leave Vermont, and what you have in medical school is called match day. It's kind of an interesting process.
Pardon me?
Match day. So you are matched, your interests in a program are matched with their interests with you. I don't know that any other profession does this. I don't think law or dental school, I don't think anyone else does this. But you basically go and interview. So I went on interviews for different residency programs, because after medical school, you have to be trained. So you leave medical school with an MD degree, right? I'm a medical doctor, but I'm not a pediatrician yet. I have to go for training in pediatrics. Okay. So I did interviews at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, St. Christopher's Hospital for Children in Philadelphia, National Medical Center in Washington. Those are all children's hospitals, and a few others, Cincinnati, Cleveland. All great programs, all great residencies. Any place would have been amazing to train. They're all like top notch. And I fell in love. I'd never heard of Pittsburgh. I never even knew of Pittsburgh.
Really?
I mean, I didn't know anything about Pittsburgh.
You had never been here?
Never been here. I think the most I knew, because I followed baseball as a kid, I was a Mets fan. So I knew we were in the same...
hold that against Jim.
right. We had a good team, 60
I'm not a Pirates fan either, though.
Yeah, we have nothing to speak of here.
That's exactly right.
But no, we were in the same division at that time as the Pirates.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember watching the games, and I would follow everything, like their batting averages and everything. And I remember
John Matlack, Tom Seaver, Duffy Dyer.
Yeah, my hero was Rusty Staub.
Did you
know Rusty Staub?
Yeah.
Does anyone know him?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know why I worship him.
He was a good player.
Number 4, right?
Yeah, he was a good player.
I loved him. I don't remember what it was, but I remember when we played the Pirates, those Pirates looked so big, right? Billy Stark.
They were
huge.
Right.
Dave
Parker.
Yeah, they were more like football. They looked like football players. So that's how I knew Pittsburgh. I didn't know much about Pittsburgh. But I fell in love with the program. And I don't remember the exact process. You have to rank them. So I ranked Pittsburgh number 1, I think St. Christopher's Hospital number 2, whatever. You rank them. And then these programs are ranking you. And somehow, on one day, the computer match that's preparing over weeks, on a computer match, they find the best match. Like, if you love Pittsburgh, did they love you enough to get you into that program? I got into Pittsburgh. I got into my first choice. They must have liked me, right?
Okay.
But it's an interesting process, right?
It was the destiny.
It was my destiny. So it was great. And I never left. So
it must have really been your destiny.
It was my destiny. But a great program. I loved my residency. It's hard. Residency is hard. It's training.
That's what I hear.
You're paid like nothing to do a lot of work.
And you don't get much sleep?
You don't get much sleep. But I had the greatest teachers in the world. Like the doctors. Ooh. Ellen Wald, Carl Gardner, Basil Zatelli, monsters in the field, like brilliant, Holly Davis. Yeah, brilliant people.
So you feel very fortunate to be trained by who you were trained by.
I was fortunate. Eric, I'm telling you, I saw nothing can walk into my life right now that I fear that I didn't see. Like I felt like I saw everything, whether it was in the emergency room or the neonatal intensive care unit or on the floors. I felt like I was prepared. Yeah, you walk out of there and you feel really good. Children's Hospital, I still think is ranked in the top 10 children's hospitals in the country.
Wow.
It's great. And I think even then, back then it was like number 5. So yeah, I was privileged. I was privileged to train there. So
Is this in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s?
No. So when did I did 89 to 92. I did my residency. 89 to 92. Yeah.
Okay.
I was in med school.
I wasn't trying to predate you there, pal.
You just made me very old, Eric. No, you're gonna edit this one. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Wow. No. Yeah.
I had a family member that was a nurse there for a long time. She was also a instructor at Duquesne University. Margaret McKenna. She was at Children's Hospital for decades.
Okay.
She may have been toward the end of retirement around the time that you might have arrived there. Anyway, she
It's all good. Yeah.
So I grew up knowing about how amazing that facility is.
It's amazing. It really is. It's amazing.
Amazing facility.
It's just brilliant people. It attracts brilliant people, and to train there, it's a gift. It's a gift. So yeah, and then you look for jobs. You look for jobs afterwards.
Okay.
And here I am, still doing
right
it.
here,
right here. Let me here. No, so I've been in practice for 27 years. Yes,
Right.
It's 92, and it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah, and you obviously have a passion for it. Life's good. Now,
It's fun.
I am fascinated about Ghana, and from the information that I read, you went there roughly 20 years ago.
More. I went there. You ready? Sit down, Eric. 33 years ago.
33 years ago.
So if you put the timeline together, it's related to medical school. It was in my first,
Absolutely.
the end of the first year of medical school. It's the one summer that you have off. After your second year and your third year, you have obligations. You're basically in school 12 months a year. But after your first year of medical school, you have a summer, like almost like college. You have like a couple of months off that are free.
Okay.
And one of the upperclassmen had just come back from this program. It was a nonprofit group from New York, Operation Crossroads Africa. And he introduced me. He fell in love with his experience. He said, Steve, you should think about, and I think he spoke to a lot of us, and he said, you should think about this program. It sends you to Africa. You don't know where you're going. Operation Crossroads Africa sends people on agricultural trips, construction trips, medical trips. I forget what else, but you have so many things. So I applied for the medical trip, since I was prepared with 1 year of medical school. Not a lot,
Naturally.
right? Not a lot of training. I had biochemistry behind me, right? Like, what is that going to do in Africa? You realize,
I don't know.
Not a lot.
Not much.
But I'll tell you how Ghana translates that in a minute. But,
Sure.
So, and I got assigned. So I got assigned from Operation Crossroads Africa to go to Ghana. I learned, and I went with a group of 10 people, and we split off. 5 people worked in this village called Sahum, S-U-H-U-M, Sahum.
Okay.
And then 5 people went off to another place for about 7 weeks, and then we met again to travel. After 7 weeks, we traveled for about 3 weeks, all through Ghana, to the west, Ivory Coast, Togo on the east. We traveled all the surrounding countries. It was fascinating. But I fell in love with it. Oh, my, did I fall in love with Africa.
You fell in love with the continent.
Fell in love with the people, the warm, welcoming people, amazing people. I basically I became part of the family of the doctor that I worked with, Dr. Marbell. And I basically lived with him and his wife and their kids. I was family, more than family,
right,
to them. And Africa's amazing. I always tell the story. You're assaulted, certainly the first time you go, but even after, by your senses are assaulted.
Sure.
Like with the taste, the smells, the textures, the colors. It's so bright. So I love it. There's a funny story. Like when I'm in, there's a beautiful smell in Ghana. So when I see the smells, it's not just like food. It's like this humid.
The foliage, the trees.
No, it's like a little. I want to say almost like like a molded smell.
Okay.
But almost like burnt corn. It's from the humidity. I think it's just the humidity creates a little bit of that mold. It is. I love it. I know I'm back in Ghana.
Got it.
When I smell that, I miss it. When I get out on the plane after 3 weeks, I'm like, I don't smell. I want to. I need to go back.
Okay.
But it's the
Okay.
colors, it's the people, and you're overwhelmed by the needs there. You're overwhelmed by the needs, and you see some horrible things. You see poverty. I mean, most of all, you're going to see poverty. It's so impoverished. You see so much that you could look at as desperation and hopelessness, and all I saw, Eric, was hope and opportunity. That's how I looked at it.
Opportunity to help.
Opportunity to help, and that's why I went back year after year. That's how I looked at it. There were, to say there's. There are no problems in Ghana, it would be ridiculous, right? There are many problems, but I didn't look at it that way. I thought, oh my God, how can I help? Like, how can I help? What kind of opportunity do they have? But it was overwhelming. I'll tell you one of the most overwhelming stories. My first trip,
Right.
I used to play on the hospital grounds. The nurses had homes near the hospital. They had homes they rented, and so at the end of my shift, I would play with the kids, do their homework with them at the end of the day, play with the kids. So I can remember it like it was yesterday. This was literally 33 years ago.
Wow.
A woman came up to me, and in Ghana, they carry their children on their back.
Yeah.
They have like a garment that holds the
Right.
baby on the back,
Right.
so they can still do work. They can
Right.
accomplish two things at once. And this woman came up to me. The baby was probably 3-4 months old, probably not much more than that. And she came up to me and said, "Will you take my baby with you to America?"
Oh my.
Absolutely. That was my reaction. I thought, I was just struck by it and thought, maybe she's just kidding. Maybe I don't think she really meant that. But she did. She did. And I think it speaks volumes of the need, the kind of that desperation in Africa of, that's what a woman would do. Could you imagine? An American person,
It's unfathomable.
we can't fathom it, right? But that goes on there. That woman, Eric, would have given me her baby, literally on that spot.
It's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, man. It haunts me to this day. I tell the story a lot, and I still, as I'm telling you now, I have chills down my spine. She would have given me that baby because she knew if she gave this man from America that baby, he or she, I don't remember the baby, would have had an opportunity that he or she would have never had in Ghana. It's sad. It's tragic, right?
How can that not leave a mark on you?
Exactly. I remember when I went, I forget where I read it. It was somewhere associated with looking at this program to go to Africa. Someone had written, "Your first trip to Africa will never be your last," and I understand it, because I thought I was going for a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I've been in Ghana now 35 times at least. I can't even count anymore. So it's never a once-in-a-lifetime, because it draws you back. It draws you back to help that kid. That kid now on her back is 33 years old, and God bless him. I hope he's doing something, and has a good life there. But you want to do something to be sure that these kids have a good life. So I went back year after year. I went back to work with the doctors, stay with their family. And then if you fast forward almost 9 years ago, my niece wanted to go to Africa with me. She wanted to go to Ghana. She said, "Uncle Stevie, take me to Ghana. I've heard all these stories. I've heard about the people. I see the love you have for them." She wanted to go. And it's Rebecca. She wanted to, she still does. She wants to save the world. She's that person. She's a social worker.
The world needs people like that.
Yes, she's amazing. So she's my brother's firstborn. Amazing, amazing young woman. And I think she was just at the end of college at the time. And so I took her to Ghana with me. But I didn't take her to that same place where I was doing medical work, because they couldn't find me an orphan. I figured like an orphanage would be a great place to take her.
Sure.
Social work experience, save the world, kind of that would be good. It's non-medical. So we found our way to a different region of Ghana called the Volta region.
Okay.
And we went to an orphanage, and Eric, that changed my life. 28 kids that just absolutely changed my life. Beautiful kids, wisdom, kakeli, comfort.
So prior, where were you for the years you were going regularly?
So
where
I was
you
in what's called the Eastern region.
Okay.
Eastern for Ghana, but west of the capital. So if you fly into Accra, it's west. And I was doing my medical work always in that Eastern region. Now I found myself much further east in the Volta region, very close to, and in fact on the border of Togo. Togo's the country just on the east of there. So
so you're there with her in this.
We're there with her.
And it was a new
orphanage.
experience for you too.
New experience for me. So though the culture of Ghana was not new for me, I could guide her and teach her the ways
Sure,
of, you know, navigating Ghana, because you have to navigate.
I can imagine.
You have to navigate anywhere, right? We have to
Right.
navigate life, but you got to navigate Ghana and Africa.
Well, culture
So
is different.
Culture is different. I remember her she was just overwhelmed. She arrived in the airport and was just overwhelmed that day, just being there. I think the humidity, the heat, the newness, even she was just overwhelmed. So I was able to guide her and navigate her through that. But it was a new experience. It was a new experience. I've never worked in an orphanage in my life, never in the United States or anywhere.
Okay.
And wow. Beautiful kids. That really, now I saw all those needs of Africa, all those needs of the Ghanaian people through kind of their eyes. And so what do you do for kids? In the evening, I would take them out, I'd buy them food, right? Because they're all hungry. So you buy them a lot of food and you buy them drinks, and the food's gone, right? And
Right.
so I would buy the orphanage now bags, like I'm talking like 100-pound bags of rice. Well, that was gone in 2 days, 3 days.
Incredible.
You know, and then you buy more bags. And well, the next day they're hungry, right? Or you buy them shirts because they want shirts, but they're tattered in a few weeks or a few months, right? Or book bags and shoes, all the things.
See, most of the wonderful people listening to this and watching this show, you know, me included, we can't fathom that. It's in the Western world. It's so
unfathomable.
Yeah,
It is.
It is.
The world that I see that now is like my world. There, I take it for like I just take it as normal now. It's not our norm. No, you would be.
That's real
shocked.
poverty. That's real
It's
poverty.
brother. It's poverty. And not that we don't have we have poverty in the United States.
We do.
have poverty right outside here in Pittsburgh.
We do.
In some of the neighborhoods for sure. It's not that poverty. That is different kind of poverty. It really is. It's different poverty. So I came home from that orphanage.
Were you there about a month? Or?
About a month, about 3 weeks, three weeks or so, almost a month.
Okay.
And really the vision of my charity, this mission that I was going to start, was born at that orphanage. It was born at that orphanage. And I thought, what can I give these kids beyond the shoes and the book bags and the shirts? Because that's what Uncle Steve has to do. You have to do that because that's what they're looking to you to do. Yeah. But that wasn't feeding their future. It wasn't giving them what I call... That was a Band-Aid. It was a Band-Aid, right, man? It was a Band-Aid. It was not giving them what I call their tomorrow, right? Their tomorrow. And they don't... It's so funny. I talk to people about that Ghanaian kids, even a lot of adults, don't have that sense of tomorrow. You bring up your kids, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? We bring kids up like that, right? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? Well, what do you want to plan for next week? For them, it's survival of the day in these small towns and villages. It's survival of the day. Can I put food on the table for my children today? Can they have more than one meal? Can they have even one meal today? Can I pay my kids' school fees? And often the answer is no. Can I do the basics?
So tomorrow isn't expected.
Tomorrow isn't even expected. It's not expected. And even in a mortality sense, the death rate is enormous there because of healthcare and so many other things, water and healthcare and all the other problems they have there.
Is there any violence issues there at all?
There are. In Ghana, thank God, there's not as much. If you're out late at night, you can get into trouble. I've heard stories even in Accra, the capital, that late at night, even the taxi drivers don't want to drive late at night. There's some armed robbers there. They're just looking for money. They're looking for money. It's that kind of desperation.
It's not a hot spot for...
It's not a hot spot for terrorism at all.
Right,
Which is wonderful. And that's why I feel very comfortable staying there because I don't know if I could. If I thought my life was in danger all the time, I could not do that.
Sure.
But no, in terms of terrorism, there are plenty of countries in Africa where there is...
Somalia.
Yeah, Nigeria is a hot spot. Really bad stuff going on in these countries. But no, Ghana's amazing. There's scams there. There are a lot of scams going on in Ghana. People from other countries coming in there and giving them bad ideas.
Right.
Young kids, again, desperate, not willing to do the hard work, like grinding it out, like doing the hard work like we know you have to do. Just want a quick thing. They'll do these scams with Americans and
these fraudsters have a captive audience there. Right?
Absolutely. So, and I know I'm even told late at night they'll say, Steve, like after 9 o'clock, get back to your guest house, because the people, if you need a taxi and you're hailing down a taxi, kind of like hitchhiking here, you're going to run into the wrong people.
And it's probably an assumption from the good people that you might be a bad person if you're out that late.
That's exactly right. Or they see me. I I'm particularly vulnerable because they see, wow, this guy is a foreigner. Their assumption is you have money. Doesn't matter. They don't know anything about me. They don't know what's in my pocket or my profession or anything. The assumption is he has money, and we're going to stop and we're going to take from him. So, yeah, there's a whole culture that you have to kind of be mindful of there, that they want something. They'll want, especially late at night, you got to be very careful. So, but when I left that orphanage, I basically wrote this vision statement. It was almost like my I have a dream kind of statement, my dream of wanting to give them that tomorrow, because they really don't. They don't have that tomorrow. And so I thought, what is their tomorrow made of? And the late, great Nelson Mandela said it best: education is the greatest weapon we can use to change the world. So that was the basis of my mission, was education. So my first thought, and I scrambled to collect pennies and dollars and beg my friends to contribute to, now looking back, a small project to build a library and a computer lab at that orphanage.
Wow.
So they gave me kind of an empty office space, not that much bigger than your studio here. Not that much, maybe a little bit bigger, but a little bit. And so we created it was a very small library, but a beautiful computer lab. I was proud of it. Looking back, I've done much bigger things since then, and I'll tell you how I've gotten there. But
there wasn't internet at that time probably available to them, correct?
So it's hard to get internet. So I'll tell you how I build my computer labs. It's interesting because internet, as you know, especially in America and anywhere, kids can get into the wrong places on the internet. So my computer programs are actually internet free. It's all learning software. So I download.
Very cool.
Right?
Very cool.
I have 65 pieces of software, kind of creative, like a lot of them are in game form. Like they're games, but they're learning tools for young kids, learning their alphabet. It's programs for the young reader and the young math student to the pre-algebra kid who can do math programs. So it's math, science, reading. Encyclopedia Britannica has this amazing program. The entire encyclopedia is on there.
On discs.
So kind of like the internet without the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I created because you and I know that if they have the internet, they're going to get on the wrong places. It's going to become like just a social media outlet. I wasn't building a social media outlet, or you know what I mean. I wanted to build.
I was just curious how much interconnectivity they'd even have in those areas.
You can purchase credit to hook you up with internet service there. I do it when I'm over there, and the kids. It's expensive for them.
I bet.
It's expensive. So I was trying to avoid like ongoing expenses and costs exactly. And keep it safe for them, and keep it wholesome.
Keeping it all captive and there, and housed there was definitely
So I love that.
Sure.
So that's what I did, and then I met this guy Platini. Platini is a Ghanaian educated guy. He's a teacher by trade. He heard of my work. Somehow he was affiliated with the orphanage in the past, and he heard of me, and I kind of started learning about him. He's a wonderful guy that is kind of an outspoken guy against corporal punishment. Corporal punishment is huge in Ghana and many of the African continent, and so he's really wonderfully outspoken to try to change the laws and
so he's a human rights activist.
Human rights activist. The first time I wrote about him on my website, I said that this guy, and I truly believe it still today, he should win a Nobel Peace Prize. He really should, Eric. He's got that heart. He's a spokesman for the people.
How do you pronounce the name again?
Platini.
Platini.
Platini. Wonderful guy. And he's really responsible for kind of taking me from the orphanage level, which is beautiful, and I'm still in touch with the orphanage and all the kids. They still visit me, but taking me to bigger places. So he said, Steve, I know you've been there.
To broaden your vision.
Yes. So he said, let me take you to schools of like 800 students, 900 students, and we can plant a library and a computer lab. So now it's wonderful to affect 28 kids. That's beautiful. But how about now we do 800, and you put it in a school where maybe in the evening they can keep it open and invite the community. And now you're impacting thousands of people with the same amount of work, the same amount of, the money that has to go into it.
Right.
Now I'm using donations a little smarter,
some of these parents probably had very poor communication skills, I would think. Some of them probably can't read.
Absolutely.
It's just the children, because the parents didn't have any opportunities.
That's exactly right. A lot of these kids, especially in the small towns and villages, are uneducated. So a lot of these, I meet kids all the time. I'll tell you a story later about God's Way. God's Way is a very interesting story that never had a day of schooling. and they come from families that never had a day of schooling. So yeah.
You almost wonder how they just got through the day. I mean,
Right. So a lot of these people that I meet, they depend on, they're farmers. A lot of them are farmers or fishermen, especially farming. Farming is big there where I am. And so they depend on that, and that barely feeds them. It barely can feed them. Maybe the surplus they can sell in the marketplace, but it's hit and miss. If the weather's wrong, or the crops, the yield is just not great that year for whatever reason, they suffer. They really do suffer. So Platini took me, and so we went to school after school. He found these schools where he said, wow, we can make a really big impact, and we did together. So, and the other thing that Platini did besides getting me to the right school, he built a team, because now I went from one area where the orphanage was to kind of a different area, still in that Volta region, but kind of hours away, far away. And he built my team that's still with me today. So from my second library and computer lab to the third, fourth, fifth, I've done 6 of them.
Wow.
To now, I'll tell you about schools. I have the same team. The core,
Yeah.
my masons, my carpenters, my electricians, they're the same.
That's amazing.
That's amazing, because I'm going to tell you what you need in life, but you need, especially in Ghana, is loyalty, right? Honesty, loyalty, consistency, but kind of a faithfulness to your mission, right? So my workers, they believe in my mission. I mean, they would die for this mission. They would die for me. They'll work. When I say blood, sweat, and tears, it's beyond blood, sweat, and tears. They work day and night. They work on Saturdays, sometimes on Sundays, to do the work for me, to get it done, because they believe in the mission. They see, wow, look at what we are doing. It's not Steve Greene or Hope for Ghana.
Certainly.
It's look what we are doing. They're part of it.
Sure.
So it's beautiful. So Platini built that team, and we went library after library. And then I started thinking bigger. I had just enough budget, just enough money in the bank to think, wow, can I build a school? With a thought that, there are kids learning under a tree. We talked about schools under a tree.
That still is just amazing to me. And the kids would show up for that. Because there's that, because again, I believe there's that natural hunger to learn.
There is such a hunger. It's unbelievable. Right. Unbelievable.
I've said that to people, and I've been scoffed at for saying that. They didn't believe there was a natural, that parenting was, I don't know how to say this. Parenting was required to get children to learn. And parenting's important, yes, certainly, but the hunger is in there, right, Doctor?
The hunger is there. I'm going to tell you, when I open up a library, even though a smaller project, before I started building schools, the libraries, you would open up the doors, kids would run. We had to almost hold them back.
Wow.
You picture like a concert scene, like in Madison Square Garden, like people just wanted to run.
Who?
The Who, right? This was the Who inside there. The books were the Who, exactly.
Wow.
The books, that chants.
Yeah.
They knew. It's just innate. I think it is. It's innate. Who taught them? A lot of these kids never saw a book before, a storybook before. Because that's what I fill my library with. It's not so much textbooks. It's a little, some textbooks, some encyclopedias, but storybooks. Dr. Seuss, the things we grew up with. Dr. Seuss, Stuart Little, basic
things we took for granted.
That's exactly right. And they're hungry for it. And it's innate, because most of these kids had never seen a book. A lot of them didn't even know how to hold the book. They didn't know how to hold it either, upside down. You have to almost teach them how to use the book. But they want to engage with it. The
yearning is there.
The yearning is there, so it's beautiful. Yeah. So we went from libraries. Then I spoke to some people. I spoke to other people that kind of connected me. Everything in Ghana is connections, right? If you don't know how to do something, it's true in life. I find it here in Pittsburgh. If you don't know how to do it,
sure,
find the person who can show you, who can tell you how to do it, right?
Correct.
Because it takes a village. I mean,
no question.
I'm a doctor. Do you think I know how to build schools,
No question.
Eric? Right? I don't know how to build schools. I don't know how to build libraries, but I found the people that get me the people.
Right.
So now I got this team. I got the village helping me. It's beautiful. So we built our first school between September of 2017 and September of 2018. It's not Franklin Regional. It's not,
tell me about
High School.
Tell me about the school.
So I'll tell you, it's we went. So I collaborated. I spoke to this guy, very educated business guy from the capital, Accra. His name is Wisdom. It's a good name, right?
It's a very good name.
By the way,
especially if he has any.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ghanaian names are so beautiful. I mean,
just one word?
Well, yeah, although they have multiple names. But their first name is often virtuous traits. Patience, comfort, wisdom, hope, love.
Really?
Beautiful names. and then I still want to tell you the story about God's Way. How do you not love the word God's Way or Godwin? Right? Mm-hmm. It's good. It's good stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Even if you're not religious, you just love like God's Way, right? Like that kid has big shoes to fill, right? I'm just saying. Just saying, that's big.
In some circles, very big.
right? So yeah, so I met a business guy named Wisdom, and he said, "Wow, the school idea is amazing. I'm going to help you do it." And he was right. He got me in touch with one of the members of Parliament. So a member of Parliament is almost like a senator. They each have, like a senator has a state here. Mm-hmm. They have the members of Parliament. They have their section of the country. I think they're like 280 members of Parliament. They have their section. So I met a wonderful guy, Honorable Bernard Ahiafor. I've been working with him the last couple of years, and he shows me and it's a huge area that he's in. Mm-hmm. But beyond the poverty, there is so little in terms of schools. There's so little in terms of access to clean water. So he was the perfect guy for me to meet and collaborate with and say, Bernard, show me what you need. Let me look and kind of choose where I should do my next project.
Okay.
So Bernard took me before we started in September 2017, so it was probably the trip before then, let's say the winter, my winter trip or February. He took me around to several villages, and one worse than the other. I mean, I could go to any one of them and make an impact, right?
Right.
So he showed me this village, Gakpokope, small village, a few hundred people, small village, but a lot of surrounding villages that could take advantage of my work. No running water, no electricity, no paved roads. During the rainy season, their dirt roads are like flooded. People can barely pass in or out from there. Again, as we say, unfathomable in the American standard, right? We can't picture it.
Not at all.
So I fell in love with the people, and I thought, wow, that's my project. That's where I'm going to build my first school. And so we built a 4-classroom block. It's a beautiful horizontal structure, 4 classrooms, one of which also is a library. It's a beautiful amount of books, a staff room for the teachers, and then toilets, which is unheard of in most Ghanaian schools, like a boys' room and a girls' room for the boys' toilets and urinals. Like, let me be frank. I mean, most Ghanaian students are just taking care of themselves behind the school grounds, right? There's no toilets there. Most homes barely have a toilet in these villages. In fact, I would say none of them in the villages have toilets. So to put kind of that American standard on it and give them something better was beautiful.
I bet.
So let me tell you the best part of that school. Let me tell you the best part of the project that took me to the next level. It took my mission to the next level. So how do you build a school when there's no running water in a village, right? So how do you construction people, your masons mix cement, right? And how do you flush that toilet? So
that was my next question.
Right.
How did you urinal or a toilet with no water?
Exactly. So let me tell you how it works, and let me tell you what it did to change my life and is now changing the lives of like thousands and thousands of people in Ghana. So people taught me that you can build or drill these boreholes. So you hire an engineer. I got this amazing engineer, brilliant guy. He's a water engineer with this enormous apparatus. He drills down into the ground hundreds of feet, about 300 feet down into the ground, finding those aquifers. There's natural water. There's a plethora of water.
Like a well.
Exactly. But it's not an open well. It's actually a borehole that he creates with a pump, so we can pump it out.
Okay.
If the village has no electricity, you give them like a manual pump. You've seen where they're actually pumping. Yeah, we're old school.
Wow.
But if you go the distance and you give them some electricity, you can give them an electric pump. And through an electric pump, you can feed kind of like a reservoir, like a poly tank, and then let the poly tank come down and flush the toilets.
Amazing.
Where are you going to get electricity, Eric, in the middle of nowhere? Let's put solar in. Let's use solar.
Well, they have a lot of sun there, that's for sure.
They have a lot of sun.
And a lot of land to put the grids up, correct?
So for Ghana, at first people had talked to me about, would you ever consider solar? And I didn't even know if the technology was in Ghana at the time. And then I thought about it, I looked into it, and I realized there's some companies there, and I found an amazing company. So on that first school, on the roof of that school, are 16 panels. That's a 5 kilowatt system. It feeds the electricity of that electric pump, bringing beautiful water.
It's amazing.
It's flushing toilets.
Awesome.
So not only does it feed the inside, but then my plumber has a faucet on the outside for the women of the village to fetch water.
Right.
So not only the school students, have their toilets and they have sinks now, and imagine that, like sinks with running water in a village that never saw running water.
Right.
But the most beautiful thing that I realized, and it was kind of accidental because I didn't do this project. I didn't do the water borehole in a humanitarian way. It was really just to feed my school, right? It had a purpose. It had a function.
Right.
And then I realized when I did it, all of a sudden women were lining up for clean water. This water was beautiful. And I learned where they were getting their water from before.
I can't imagine.
Eric, these women, and this isn't one village, this is all over the country, probably all over the continent of Africa. They're walking miles, women and children, to fetch, but not clean water, dirty water, like from a river dam. Filthy water where the cattle are drinking. The cattle are probably defecating and peeing,
Slurry.
Absolutely muddy water. You'll see it on my website. It's filthy. It's mud. That's what they're drinking. That's what they're cooking with. That's what they're using to clean their clothes. That's what they're bathing with. They showed me this water. Eric, it was pitiful. So when I finally built for the school this borehole, within minutes, women are lining up with like their pans, their pots. They'll then carry back to their homes of beautiful, clean water.
Wow.
It was amazing. I
That
changed
probably
the
was
village.
Yeah, that probably was just as impactful as every work you'd done prior, right?
That's exactly right. And I'm going to tell you, I actually look back on that moment, that I realized it was even the most impactful thing. I even said to someone, like, if I died today, that would have been the best thing that I had done in my life. It was
food and water supersede education for survival, right? For survival.
Water is life. And so, it took education, it made education go to the back seat a little bit, right? But it never would. Education is still always the focus of my mission.
Sure.
But water is now part of the mission. So now what I started to do, and we'll talk about the cost of it, because the cost is not enormous. To change a village, it's not enormous. I started going to other villages, not even where I'm building a school, but just giving the gift of water. So Hope for Ghana, to this date, has built 8 boreholes.
Oh my!
8 communities have clean water. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. When I just came back, I was there in September. We just gave 3 more communities water. So if I asked you how much do you think it costs to build, to bring access to clean water, to build this borehole, bring a pump, because I ask Americans this, and I notoriously get interesting answers, but what would you say? What would you say?
To drill down a couple hundred feet.
300 feet.
And then there's a pumping station there.
Pumping station to give a community.
But it's coming up clean, though. It's coming up. It doesn't need to be filtered, correct?
It's clean.
Yeah.
Pristine.
It's from
beautiful,
the earth.
From the earth. How much do you think? How much do you think?
50,000?
And Americans tell me that they when I do presentations, they'll say to me tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes 50,000. What if I told you I can do it with my engineer at cost? Again, there's no increase. I have no $3,000.
It's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
That's nothing for
nothing.
what it's bringing.
Changing lives, reducing the chance of waterborne disease. I mean, people dying, like children and families dying from like the stuff in water.
They don't go there and drink that water cold. They hope they boil it, right?
We hope. Sometimes do, and sometimes they don't. They don't always, and even if you boil it, that mud, that's
so much.
It's there's only so much you can boil that away. It's they've shown me the water. It's bad. It's brown. It's brown, dirty water.
Incredible.
Yeah. So for $3,000,
that's incredible.
So it's incredible,
right?
So now that's become, as I've gone out to speak to people, it's become sort of this new denominator. Not that I get $3,000 donations every day. I don't at all. But there's some churches, there's some people that have said, I'm going to give you $3,000. I want to do a borehole. Grace Life Church in Monroeville. has donated the cost of 3 boreholes. In fact,
Wow.
two of the 3 that I did in September, just last
That's
month,
incredible.
were on behalf of Grace Life Church, Living Water Church in Christ in McKees Rocks. They're donating the money for a borehole.
What's the process to do a borehole from the moment you bring the first piece of equipment on to the moment it's producing water?
Yeah, it's if I told you I can do it in a day. Well, to get the water in a day, it's all day drilling. I'll have to show you a picture. It's a big apparatus. That's drilling slowly through the earth. It takes.
What's the circumference of that?
10 hours.
That
Probably about
10 inches, something like that?
8 to 10 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 to 10 inches exactly. I'd say more like 10 inches.
Okay.
And then they leave. I guess it's PVC pipe, basically PVC piping down. That's what's still there.
Incredible.
And sometimes they can hit the water before 300 feet. I think the first one we did, they did in about 200 feet, but most of them, the terrain is bad there. It's tough. It's tough. It took about 300 feet. And even the last couple took a second team. Then my engineer, Francis, had to bring in a second team, what's called hydrofracture.
What is that?
So he had dug the borehole. He was getting a little bit of water, certainly not enough for a community. He then outsources to a guy that does his sending pulses of high-pressure water. Basically, that water is breaking through more bedrock.
Right.
So it takes the little bit of aquifer that he found, and I guess it expands it and finds other aquifers. I'm not a water engineer, so I don't know.
You're going to be one by the time you get this done.
Right? I just know the word aquifer.
It's a good word.
It's a good word, right? I like the word
good word.
aquifer. Like, I found an aquifer, right? Right? How many people in Pittsburgh have found an aquifer, right?
Oh, bunches of them.
Right? So that's what he's doing. And you connect them to other aquifers, so you create like more of a pond, and that's the well. Like you would if you saw a well.
Sure.
That's what that's the well, but you're not seeing an open well. It's not open water.
Got it.
So they can do that in a day. Usually from early morning till evening they do that, and the next day my guy hooks up the pump.
Incredible.
So I already have when I go back in the spring in March, I have 3 planned. I have 3 more planned already.
Wow.
And anyone that wants to get on board, I'm ready. My engineer and I are ready. We collaborate with, again, the member of parliament, the district assembly that kind of knows the communities, because how would I know which communities need it the most?
Right.
They know. Yeah.
So the government, is it a corruption issue? Is it there's no industry, so there's no tax base? If it really is a manageable number to bring water, why will the government not take care of their own people or try to?
There's a lot of corruption in Africa. Let's just say it's a lot of corruption. So money's going in the wrong hands, and the resources don't reach these villages. So I'm not, just so you know, I'm not in the big cities at all.
Oh no,
I fly into Accra. And I get out of Accra.
I get it.
I buy my books there. I buy all my stuff there.
Sure.
My books, the computers. I have a place that sells brand new Dell computers.
Right.
When I do a computer lab, but I get out of there. I love being the man who's helping the kids in the village. I love that. And the more remote it is, the more right? It's just gratifying because those are the forgotten people, man. They're forgotten, and so the government just doesn't put the resources there, and the government's putting the resources in the wrong place.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
We'll never understand as a Westerner. A government that could never take a census would have no idea who's actually in their country.
That's exactly right.
Naturalized, is it Ghanaians? How you pronounce it? Ghanaians.
Yeah.
Naturalized Ghanaians.
Yeah.
That are there, that were born there, generations probably, that there's no accountability. There's probably no social security number. There's just not. Right. They're just there.
Records are sparse. Records are really sparse. Birth certificates are sparse. A lot of people don't even know their birth date. They don't know their birth because there are no records. So
that's just it's just again, it's so hard to wrap our heads around.
It is that in 2019, if you saw the pictures of the water they're drinking, to even fathom that in 2019, with the wealth in the rest of the world, some parts of the world, in the United States, Europe, how do we allow?
It seems such a solvable problem.
It's so solvable. If I can go in with my engineer and do this already in 8 villages, and I plan, Eric, I want to do hundreds. I want to do in my lifetime. I want to do hundreds and thousands.
Right?
Of these.
Why not?
Why isn't the government doing that? Right? Why isn't the United Nations in there? Where are they? Where are they? Where is everybody? I shouldn't have to be doing this. I love doing it, but
Right.
it seems like there should be more of a solvable problem.
Incredible.
But I think the money that goes in there doesn't end up in the right place. The roads we drive on in Ghana are in just as bad condition today than they were 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
A lot of them probably not paved roads. They're just...
Yeah, some of them are paved and they're potholes. When I talk about potholes, almost like that sinkhole we had in Pittsburgh. It's like that. It's like that.
You lose the whole car in there.
Yeah, you can lose your car. Yes.
So are there the people that are in these villages, and obviously there's some may have some resources, some most probably don't. Are there cars? Are they that poor that there's just really nothing?
There's just nothing. So if someone has just enough money, they can get a car, and the conditions of the cars they're buying are pretty poor. It's usually the stuff that you and I would send to the scrap, to be thrown away and scrapped. They're importing those cars. So if someone has just enough money, they can buy a car and hire people to drive those cars as taxis. So that's a pretty good business there.
Okay.
They can do decently well because most people don't have a car. So to get from their home to the marketplace,
some don't even have a place to eat. It's nothing to eat. No fresh water. I mean, it's just...
Exactly, yeah.
It's amazing.
So, yeah. Everything we take for granted is not there. So, yeah, cars are not there. But cars are on the road, but they're more taxis. You're not... Maybe in Accra, you'll see people with their private cars, but in the villages, it's more people with getting around by taxis. So...
Wow. But what you're talking about is, people living in absolute destitution.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. They are, access to education is like a privilege for them. They don't have...
Hell, they can't get food and water, some of these people.
Access to food is a privilege. Most of them in these villages, most of the kids in these villages are eating maybe one meal or two meals, and they're just used to that. That's all they have. If they can get one meal, they're happy. The concept of 3 meals and snacks like we do in America doesn't exist there. It takes getting used to for me, and I have to get used to the difference. I'll tell you where I'm going with this. So,
sure.
For someone to even do you a favor, if I was going to pick you up, you said, Steve, can you pick me up at the airport? I pick you up at the airport. I'm glad to help you, right? You're a friend of mine, so I pick you up. I'd never ask you to pay, right? I'd never say, well, can you pay? Can you give me money or expect money? In Ghana, they will expect you're expected to pay the gas, because to deplete them of that gas, they can't afford what they just expended there. So you're going to repay them, even if they're going to cook for you. In some situations, not always, but in some situations, you have to buy the food materials for them. As compared to if you invited me to your house,
right.
I'm assuming I'm not paying you for the food.
Yes.
Eric, or I'm not coming. I'm just going to tell you I'm not going to come.
I wouldn't blame you.
Right? No. But seriously, it's expected. So I had this conversation. I have this amazing friend, my amazing friend Senyo. Senyo's a 24-year-old Ghanaian. He's kind of like my right-hand guy.
Okay.
Trusts the guy, loyal, trustworthy friend, and I'm kind of bringing him close to me to be kind of that guy that's there in Ghana watching over my work, almost like I gave him the title ground operations assistant. Kind of like when I'm not there, he can watch things and take care of small problems. Small problems for me. So I asked Senyo that concept. It's really an interesting concept. I was telling him kind of this concept that if what charity is to me is when you can do something for someone and you expect nothing back.
Absolutely.
Right? But in Ghana, I was asking him why, and I kind of know the answer. It's not like I really needed the answer, but I was trying to still wrap my head around the frustration of it, of why, for example, even at the airport, if someone helps me with my bag, lifting my bag onto the cart, he's expecting money. If I don't give him money, he's going to be upset with me. In America, nobody, you just do it. You help a brother out,
help
right?
People, right?
You help people. So Senyo had this beautiful, it was pathetic. It was a sad line, but a beautiful way he described it. He said, Steve, and I knew it. It's not like it was novel to me. But hearing it from my dear friend, like put it in perspective, he said, Steve, our pockets are dry. Our pockets are dry. That's why. We can't. You can pick that guy up from the airport and bring them back because you have the money for that fuel. We have nothing. Like, and he and he really didn't need reminding, but I kind of did, like to hear it.
Even the most remedial things, they don't have the resources for. So when they do it as a courtesy, it depletes maybe their food or their water or their anything else.
Yes. So I'll tell you, there was an interesting moment. Senyu and I were stuck. So in the second village called Pevenu, it's a second. It's the village where I'm building my second school.
Right.
We were stuck in a rainstorm. It was a monsoon rain.
How often does it rain down there?
So they have a rainy season right now.
Okay.
Is their rainy season? The winter's their dry season. The summer into the fall is their rainy season. So it gets messy down there. I got hit by some rains. Yeah.
Okay.
And on the main roads, it's not a big deal. But if you're in like the remote areas with dirt roads,
sure, they're
unpassable. I have a video he and I did together where the road to my school was overflowing because it was a stream nearby. It was overflowing. It became a river. The road became a river. So we entered the village, and the rain was coming down hard. So we were hanging out in someone's home, in his room. And I'm thinking, am I ever going to get out of this village? Like, I may never leave. And so I was a little hungry.
Sure.
So you see,
it happens,
right? And I'm thinking, I wasn't prepared for this, right?
Okay.
Usually for most things in Ghana, I'm prepared, but I wasn't prepared. And I'm thinking, wow, this could be a long day. So I said to Senyu, I saw women cooking. I think they were frying like sweet potato. They had just grown from their farm. It's hand to mouth. It's from farm to hand to mouth. They're frying up sweet potato or something.
Sure.
So I said, Senyu, we should ask them for like just a little, a little. And he reminded me, gave me a great perspective. He said, Steve, but if you do that, or if we do that, they may not have dinner tonight, or they may not have lunch tomorrow. So I wasn't going to do right. You can, and we don't think like that, right? I wasn't asking for like a big meal. I thought like maybe, and his perspective was beautiful. He's wonderful. That's why I love the kid. He gives me that perspective when even after 33 years, I still don't see it as he sees it.
It's
what I mean?
It's a different way of life.
It's a different way of life. So I think I know the Ghanaian way of life, and I'm pretty good at it.
Sure.
It's complex. I'm still learning. So it's wonderful and I didn't. But what they did, so they have we ended up eating watermelon. They have tons of watermelon that they grow. So we had watermelon. So it filled me up.
Oh.
I really, Eric,
not a fan.
I really wanted the sweet potato.
I get it.
But no sweet potato for me, right?
Right.
Because Senyu was beautiful. He gave me the perspective. So yeah, we take it for granted. I can ask you for this, but now I'm depleting you of something. And they won't tell you they're depleted. They would have given me the sweet potato. And that's what he would have said to me, Steve, they'll never tell you this, but they're not going to have a meal tomorrow. So it was great. It was great perspective. Sad. And as he said, our pockets are dry. It's interesting.
So again, Western world's so hard to, and listen, we've seen the commercials for various charities. We've gone to churches and heard the stories. But it takes something to really resonate. Like this conversation is resonating with me that I have, and I shared a story off camera about my good friend Brad Goutney, who works with trying to combat children, pediatric, I guess is the right word, pediatric AIDS in Africa. And, him and yourself, people that are worked in the trenches, have been there. Yeah. It's so much more real to hear it from you.
Right.
As opposed to a celebrity spokesperson, as opposed to see something flash in front of you on the internet.
Right. Because I live it. Right. I live it. And
correct.
And in living it, it's interesting. It becomes normal for me. Not. It's disturbing, but it's like
it's a part of your life.
It's a part of my life. So even I'll bring back footage. My video editor will look and say, Steve, people won't believe what you're going to show them. I'm like, oh, that's just life there. And he said, no, but Steve, no one has seen that here. Like, no one in America can fathom that, can appreciate the way they live. But for me, right, it becomes, that's the norm. I live it, it's my day-to-day.
A portion of your life you're living with them.
Yeah. So, for a couple of months a year. And I want to do more.
Yeah.
So
how give me the web addresses on how our listeners and viewers can reach you?
I'd love to. So my website is beautifulhopeforghana.com. So the mission, of course, the charity is Hope for Ghana, a tax-deductible, tax-exempt 501c3 charity. So everything people give is 100% tax-deductible. Go to hopeforghana.com. Beautiful page, videos on there, pictures, videos, blog page with every step of the journey is on there since day one of this journey, almost 9 years ago.
Incredible.
And we do. I'll tell you what we do really well. It's grassroots. When I tell you, Eric, that this is a grassroots charity, this is. I'll tell you 2 facts I'm really proud of. 100% of the donations that people give go to the project. So Steve Greene pays his own airfare. I pay my own guest house, my own food. So literally 100% of that $1 or $1,000 or whatever goes
to the project.
It goes to the project. But what I love the most, it's really beautiful. I'm not bringing over teams of Americans to do the work. I'm giving Ghanaians a chance to work. So every bit of that money is in the hands of Ghanaians.
Right.
So that Mason now can feed his family because he's now making that money on the workmanship that he does. He feeds his kids. He sends his kids to school.
It's purely parochial there.
Absolutely, it's a beautiful cycle. It comes in, and I get to be. I always tell people I'm the messenger of their goodwill. That's the gift that I have. I get to live it. I get to be the messenger of their goodwill.
So the dollar goes beyond the concept of dollar. The dollar purchases the water, but that dollar is also helping the livelihoods and the lives of these tradesmen's families.
That's exactly right. So when we build a school, we're building a school. So that village now will have a school for, let's say, 150 kids. Right. 150 kids will be educated. Maybe at night the library will be open for their parents, to learn. So it'll impact a lot of people. But I just impacted a crew of 20 to 30 people. Absolutely. Skilled workers, semi-unskilled workers. We bring in. It's a beautiful concept of communal labor. So when I build a school, I have my core team, my masons, my carpenters, my electricians. But we bring in anyone from the community that wants to help. So as unskilled workers, high school kids can mix cement. They can do all kinds of stuff, and they make money. We pay them. So it's beautiful. They've never seen the ability to make money like that. So it's really, really nice. So so they're paying their school fees. They're paying for food. They're paying. It goes for whatever they need. It's amazing. So
it's a blessing that you were to find that technology there and find the. We don't have to bring teams in. That's a blessing.
That's exactly right. Right. So I kind of like it. I kind of like it. I think I think the traditional charity and mission brings Americans over
top
with
heavy.
them.
It's like or dictatorial, I should say.
Exactly. And I want it to be built the way Ghanaians want it to be built. It's still got the American concept. Again, the toilets are, not typically the solar power. It's got the American touch. It's got the beauty that I want to bring in, but it's done the way they do it.
And that probably endears you more to the people there too. Am I right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. They love when you are part of their culture. They're really, they love that. They love that you want to be part of them. When you eat their food, when you speak even a glimpse of their language, and I can't speak, they have so many tribal languages. I know a little bit of Twi. That's what they speak in Accra, the capital. Okay. I know a little bit of Ewe, where I am right now in the Volta region, like hi, how are you kind of thing. But when you can do that, you've endeared yourself. They love that. They love that.
Now, do you travel with interpreters? Do you? I would imagine you probably have. Your team probably has interpreters in there now.
So I use the local people in the village. If I have an educated, like high school kid,
sure.
So the kids are learning English right now in the schools. Okay. So if you get a kid in junior high school or high school, he's speaking English, but most of the elders are uneducated. They can't, so I need them. Or now my friend Senyo, who's like, we're glued at the hip. He's my interpreter.
Because commonality of language builds trust, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I would think.
Yeah, and you want to make sure. I want to make sure they're hearing it the way I want that I'm trying to tell it to them.
Dialects and all that. Yeah.
Things can be misinterpreted.
You don't say.
Right?
Yeah. We take that for granted, don't we?
Yes. I'll tell you. Even the English. It's so funny. Their English. Even a well-spoken person. I'll think I'm hearing it the way in America would interpret it. We interpret language.
Oh, sure.
It's not just the words that are said. So I'll think, I just know what this guy said. Senyo may tell me, Steve, no, that's not what he was saying to you. And I'll look at him like, what are you, crazy? No, I know. It's my language, right? I think like arrogantly, like it's my language. He goes, no. And he's right. They use it differently. And I think probably all cultures, they use it differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's just different. It's different. Yeah. So I'm learning. It's a complex.
It sounds like you have to constantly keep learning there.
Constantly learning.
Every trip's a new.
Yeah.
Obviously, what comes through from our conversation, Doctor, is that you're so passionate about it.
I love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that about life when people find that. And
thank you.
I've been, knock on wood. I look for that. I've had it. Yeah. I still have it.
Yeah.
And I want that for everybody. If I could give the gift of the world, that was the one gift I would give everybody, is to find the passion.
Exactly. And this is my passion. I found it, and I think that's what allows me to be kind of the storyteller. That's the gift I can bring back from Ghana, is to tell the story. Because the story is theirs. The story is the Ghanaian people, the joy. There is joy and hope and opportunity going on there. It's beautiful. It's their story. It's God's story, right? But but I get to be the storyteller. So I get to be the messenger of the goodwill here. I bring the goods. I bring the donations and the all that. And we'll talk about other donations. I bring clothes and shoes. Like, people bring me everything. Like, so it's not just. Of course, I depend on financial donations, but my patients give me like clothes and shoes, and people like have brought me vitamins. I brought flashlights this time. Imagine going to a village without electricity and giving them flashlights. Is that powerful?
That's hugely powerful.
I never thought of it until one of my
simple thing.
Yes, one of my colleagues, Dr. Patty, had these like handheld, like maybe 5 inches tall, these flashlights at her son's wedding. It was out in an open area. I said, Chris, can I have the extra flashlights you have? They were like amazing. I thought I could give those as gifts.
Oh yeah.
So, of course, she went over and beyond. She like bought me like on Amazon like a ton of them.
Of course.
And I'm giving them out, and they're lighting this up at night. And bro, like
something like that is just like amazing to them.
Right?
Yeah, the wow factor.
It's amazing. And God said, let there be light, right? All of a sudden there's light. So it's amazing.
Again, with things we take for granted.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So let me tell you the story of God's Way, because I love the story of God's Way.
Sure.
God's Way is an easy way. It's not hard there to change the world. Like, you can change people's lives there. So God's Way is, I told you we use a lot of communal labor.
Right.
So from the village. So I noticed this kid on the first phase of our school back in February. I noticed all the kids work hard. They all do a great job. They're mixing cement. They're like, pushing wheelbarrows full of, cement block and all this. It's heavy. It's hard work in the scorching sun, right?
And we don't know heat up here like they know down there, right? We didn't talk about that.
No.
That's
if you see pictures of me, you see me sweating.
Sitting on the sun.
Yes. Well, it is. They're like 6, I think it's 6 degrees above the equator.
That's what I was going to ask you. How close to the equator were you?
Yeah, I was on the sun. I was sitting on... No, it's hot. This boy sweats. So, but I noticed one guy named God's Way. He says he's 18, but again, he doesn't know his birthday. He's probably about 18 or 20. He was just, you meet someone who's just harder working than everyone else. God's Way may be the hardest working human being I've ever met in my life. At the end of the shift, for example, most of the kids were going home. The village, the school project is here. The village is not far away. They're going home, and he's cleaning the wheelbarrow, cleaning the wheels, cleaning. Everything had to be done perfectly. So I approached him 6 months ago in February. Well, now it's 8 months ago, but back on that first phase of the trip, and I told him how proud of him I was about his work ethic, that I loved his work ethic. I told him I wanted him to work with me. I wanted to stay on this team. And I wanted to do something for him because he's stuck in the village. He's doing nothing. He helps his family with farming, but has never been educated a day in his life. So his future is there's not a lot there for him. So I asked him what he wanted to do, and he wanted to become a mason. So in like we go to Votex, vocational school here in America, what they would do to become a mason, you have to hire like a master mason, and you are the apprentice for 3 years, and you work with them day and night. 7 days a week you're with them, and they teach you everything they know. So you're not going to school; it's just hands-on. It's
kind of like residency.
Exactly. It's true.
Sorry.
That's true. Oh my God! I was suffering then.
Sorry.
I didn't even realize how bad it was. Thank you for reminding me of my tortured past now. But so in February I wanted to find him, that master who could take him under the wing, and I wasn't finding the right people. And then last month I found one of the assemblymen. He's kind of in charge of the village. He's their spokesman.
Okay.
And I said, Robert, I love this kid. I need to do something for him. Like, it's in my heart. Like, I just, I need to do something. He said, I got this Mason, an established guy, serious guy, probably in his 40s. He's been around, he knows what he's doing. And so I met this Mason, Samuel, and I said, will you let this guy apprentice with you? He said, sure. He'll take him in. So you have to, there's like a ceremony. You gotta give some money. Like it's 1,000 Ghanaian CDs. In the American world, it's nothing. It's not even $200.
Wow. But
for 1,000 CDs, his parents would never have 1,000 CDs.
Right.
So for 1,000 CDs, I have to hand that to this guy Samuel, and he will take this guy on. So at first, Samuel met with me privately. He said, yeah, he'll have to find accommodation. I said, Samuel, but I kind of used my friend Senyo's phrase. I said, their pockets are dry. I said, you'll meet this family. There's nothing. They have nothing. He has no way of getting accommodation. So what does Samuel say to me? He can live with me. I'll take him in.
Wow.
So Samuel is taking him in. He'll pay him like a tiny, tiny stipend just for food money. And for 3 years, he'll apprentice him. And at the end of 3 years, this kid has a future.
Amazing.
He's become a master mason. I told Godsway he's going to build my home. If I build a home there, he'll build my home there. Like, I love that for nothing. Like, it's nothing. It's so easy to change their lives, right?
Yeah.
And now I've given him a future. He'll be able to take care of himself. He'll be able to take care of his parents.
It's amazing.
He'll be able to take care of his family. Like, it's amazing.
And it's in him. He wants to work.
He wants to work. So that's why I picked him. I picked him. In fact, I gave him a little speech. I'll tell you the speech I gave. I'll tell you the first line of the speech I gave.
Sure.
And then I'll tell you about my obligation in 3 years. I have to have a graduation party for him. It's a great graduation party.
Cool.
You're invited, by the way. You're invited.
I might go.
You might, right? So
I might go.
But I wanted to let him know that so many people would love that opportunity that he has. Like, he has an opportunity in front of him that people would die to have. So I used to line, and I love it. I think I want him to use this like the title of my book when I'm older, right?
You should write a book.
You
should write a book.
In all of Ghana, I chose you. Like, it's just, and I don't even remember what else I said. It was just it was like a motivational speech.
That's a pretty powerful statement.
It was right? I loved it. When I came out of it, I'm like, wow, that was like, it should be like a title of something, right? In all of Ghana. And that was the theme of it, that you owe it to yourself, because there are millions of people that would die to be in your seat. But I chose you because I believe in you, and that was really my chance to tell him why I believed in him. How I just was proud of his work ethic. Like, that meant everything to me, and that I expected the world of him. I wanted them to know that. Yeah. So it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. It was a little sad.
Story.
It was a beautiful story. So you have to sign an agreement. Like, I had to sign as his sponsor. It was like a 2-page agreement from the Mason.
Okay.
That he has to follow rules. He can't steal. He can't lie. He has to come to work 6 days a week. On the 7th day, they rest there. It's nice. I had
lost concept in this third world, or this Western world, right?
Exactly. But so I'll tell you what was a little bit sad, and then I'm still getting to the graduation party. But this little sad thing is, there were a lot of signatures his parents had to sign. He had to sign. He doesn't know how to sign his name. He doesn't know how to write his name. Forget signing. He doesn't know how to write his name. So what they do, it's interesting. They use ink, just like ink you'd fill a pen with. Put it in a thumb, and they use a thumbprint.
Thumbprint for the signature.
So I told Godsway, and I'm telling you that before I die, Eric, I'm going to do this. I said, Godsway, I'm going to teach you how to write your name. Like,
right.
Don't you think every man should know how to write his name? Every man, woman, and child should know how to write their name, right?
Absolutely.
Even if you can't read. I want him to write his name, right?
Again, we take that for granted.
Yes, right? And then his parents had to do the same thing. They've never been educated. So it's interesting. So next time when I go back, Godsway's going to know how to write his name.
How come you physicians seem to forget how to write your name at some point in time?
Maybe I'll teach myself how to write. Seriously, you should see.
I've seen physicians' signatures all through my life.
Yes, they're horrible, aren't they? Thank God.
You may want to get someone else down there to teach him how to write his name.
That's right. Thank God for when electronic records came into my life, maybe, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. most physicians curse it because it's
Cumbersome.
hard. It's cumbersome. I loved it. I never had to sign my name or write it, but it was beautiful. So let me talk about the graduation party.
Story.
So I had to pay 1,000 CDs again. Nothing. Like it's nothing
Right.
to give a kid a future.
Right.
I gave him a future for less than $200.
It's
I couldn't
incredible.
do that, right? So here's the graduation party. You ready for this? So in 3 years, I have to bring a crate, which is 24 cans or bottles of soda. So I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay. I have to bring 24 cans, a crate of, they call it malt. It's a non-alcoholic drink. It's delicious. Guinness
Okay.
Company makes it.
Okay.
It's kind of got a hops flavor. It's just...
It's a
kinda got
non-alcoholic
It's
beer?
non-alcoholic. Yeah, but it's non-alcoholic. Yeah, but not even beer. It's sweet. Almost. It's got a wheat flavor, molasses flavor. I didn't even
It's
know how to
almost like
describe
pop then. Almost like a
Almost like pop.
like a
Pop.
soda
But-
pop or something.
Yeah, but a specific flavor that I'm not describing well. But and I have to bring a goat.
You gotta bring a goat.
I got to bring a goat.
Hopefully one you can buy down there. Supposed to take it on the plane with you.
You mean no one's donating a goat?
Well, I mean, my wife's a flight attendant, and I've heard all kind of. If you put a little red vest on there, you probably could get a goat on the plane.
So she has some pull. I can get
Maybe it's a
maybe
very
through her, I can get a
Oh
goat
my
on.
gosh! Oh my gosh!
And a goat is even my workers have kidded with me like, Steve, we've done a really good job. You should buy us a goat. It's food. It's I guess it gives milk. Like it
Right.
could run around.
It's
Gives
sustainable,
milk.
yeah.
It's sustainable.
Right.
Ultimately, it gives meat. It's so it's the ultimate gift there.
A goat.
A goat. I'm gonna get Samuel the Mason a goat. Right?
Well, you have to. That's part of the agreement,
It's
right?
the agreement.
Incredible.
And
man.
malt and soda. Who would have thought? Like, I never thought, if you told me 10 years ago, Steve, you're going to be signing an agreement that you owe a guy a goat, I'd say that's a little,
Take him a case of Iron City beer will change their life.
right? I should do that, right? Bring a little Pittsburgh. Bring him a little Pittsburgh. Yeah. They do drink beer down there, but but he wanted
What
he wanted
brand
the
of
goat.
beer do they drink down there?
They have some indigenous Ghanaian beers, Gold
Okay.
Star.
Nothing we'd see up here, right? Imported in, right?
But they have stuff from like Europe. They
Okay.
have some Guinness.
Okay.
They have some I forget the other names. Guinness is the big one there.
Really?
But then they have a couple of Ghanaian indigenous beers just made in Ghana. Yeah.
So Guinness is just their afterthought of a beer, but here we pay more for it. Good figure, right?
It's a second choice. They want their
Interesting.
their Ghanaian beer.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
But
So before we finish up here, right
Yeah.
turn back to Pittsburgh. When
Yeah.
you're home, what does Dr. Steve like to do with whatever free time you actually find?
yeah, not a lot of free time, right?
Right.
love
I
Pitts-
admire you for that.
Yeah, right. I have two full-time jobs. I love Pittsburgh sports. I'm a big Steelers fan.
Trying to get a few of those on this show here soon,
Yeah, good.
past and current.
Okay, good.
Working on that.
Good.
Working
That would
on
be
that.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that always goes over well in Pittsburgh, right?
absolutely.
Steelers go over well in
Absolutely,
Pittsburgh.
man. Yeah, I take my dad. My dad's an avid Steeler fan from New
Oh,
York.
cool.
Born and bred in the Bronx.
How'd that happen?
And somehow he loved that I was in Pittsburgh. Started watching the Steelers. He fell in love with Jerome Bettis. When Jerome was, Jerome, he was the epitome
was a
of
good one.
Grit, right? Hard working, blue collar,
You bet.
grit. He respected that, and it was around that time, maybe like 15 years ago,
Yeah.
that he fell in love with the Steelers.
Wow.
Actually took him to the Super Bowl. The one, it
Very
was
cool.
in Tampa Bay where we beat Arizona. The last Super Bowl
it was
we won.
09?
February 1st, 09. Yeah, we went.
Very cool.
So I take him to a game each year. So I love the Steelers. I go to sports games, sometimes Pirates games. I need more of a reason, I think, to. Yeah.
We all do.
I need a reason to get excited.
We all do.
Yeah. Play some music.
pianist, I hear, right?
I'm a piano guy.
Pianist.
Yeah. So my parents actually is a cool story. When I bought my house, I bought it in '96.
Okay.
May of '96. Like the next week, what arrived at my house was a Steinway grand piano. It was the piano I grew up on.
You
I
gotta
grew
be
up
kidding
playing
me. Wow.
from New York. My mom wanted me to have it.
Amazing.
So it's sitting in my living room. I don't play it enough, and I could have, if I practiced the piano like my mother told me to. I maybe could have been good.
See?
Right? I never did. So, but now I love
Is it,
it. I play-
is it therapeutic for you?
I
In the
love it,
essence that it's a
yes.
diversion.
I love it. So now I don't read like classical music and study, although I'd love to get back to it because it was beautiful. But I just play by ear. I'm like a 70s guy, Billy Joel, Rod Stewart, Elton John, like that kind of stuff I can sing. And I wouldn't sing in front of you, but I'm like that. But
Get classic rock stuff, right?
But just pop rock. And it's therapeutic. I love
Absolutely.
it. I don't know if my neighbors love it, but
I have that problem with guitar. I'm not sure my neighbors love it either. But no matter where I've ever lived, I don't think any of my neighbors have ever loved it.
if it's loud. So I actually took guitar lessons. I took 2 or 3 years. For me, it's a bit more of a struggle. It's work. Whereas the piano, I don't even have to look at the key. I can just play.
That's interesting.
I hear it. I can play by ear. So I had to do
That's
it.
interesting.
Guitar is just different for me. I didn't grow up on it. It was just more of it was more in high school an afterthought. Piano, I started when I was 7 years old. So
a lot of correlations between the two instruments in regards to the way the chordal things, chords.
Yes, it's therapeutic. Isn't
It
it?
is.
Music is.
No question. Let's talk about Ghana again. What's the music down there?
The music is beautiful. A lot of drums. You'll hear it in church. You'll hear a lot of stuff in church.
I would think so.
Drums. At weddings and funerals, they'll often have a brass band. Especially like at funerals,
okay.
they'll lead the processional with a brass band.
Brass, okay.
So they do a little.
Are there
bit of
any
that.
fretted instruments at all down there? Is it prevalent?
Like guitar,
or any kind of version of a guitar? Or
I don't know that I've seen that. I think it's drums.
Interesting.
They have some keyboards. If they can afford. Again, many places can't even afford that to have the instruments.
Sure.
But they learn keyboards. I don't know. I'll find out. My next trip, I think I'm going to find out if they play the guitar.
There you are.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen a guitar there.
Really?
Yeah, but maybe I'm just not. In these small churches I go, there's
much of anything.
There's not much of anything, right?
Yeah.
So maybe in the bigger churches there are. I can't say. I'm going to find out for you.
This was excellent, my friend.
It was good, right?
Was this easy for you? Good time?
It was a great time.
Yeah.
Anytime I can share, I'm telling you, there is so much joy over there. There's joy in my life. There's joy in.
I can hear their joy through you.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful. I always was bothered. Do you remember the Sally Struthers commercials?
Oh yeah.
I forget what she was advertising for. You would see these kids in Africa with mosquitoes and the bellies from starvation. I thought, wow, there's another story in Africa. Why aren't people showing it? And the biggest compliment that people give me when I send out my emails, send out these email blasts of when I come home from a trip, all the pictures of these kids. They tell me I can't believe the joy that I see in these kids, the happiness, the joy, the look in their eyes. Then I've done well.
Yeah.
If I brought back that joy. There is joy there.
Because that's another part of the story.
It's a huge part of the
Yeah,
story.
why would you not show that?
Yeah. It's not to say they're not weeds in the garden, right? You can't ignore that.
Sure.
It has a lot of weeds. But there's a story of joy, and I think Hope for Ghana is bringing a lot of that into these villages that otherwise would be forgotten. So yeah, I can't wait to get back. You're invited. You can come. And
you're invited back here too.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. I tell you, because the story's evolving, right?
That's the whole point.
The story's evolving.
Absolutely right.
Maybe.
And it's hopeforghana.org?
.com.
So
hopeforghana.com. Hope for GHANA.com. And people want to get involved. They want to donate. I love it because I want to do more. I want to build like 10, 15, 20 schools.
Well, such a low entry point to build.
Absolutely. A school costs probably about $75,000 to $80,000.
Wow.
That's it, to educate hundreds of kids.
Or just the water, just the water device.
The water, 3,000 is nothing.
That's insane.
So yeah, if people want to get involved, sure.
For sure.
I think churches have had a great attraction to my mission. Everything is tax deductible from a corporate standpoint or an individual standpoint.
Yeah.
So come on board.
Right on. I'm going to.
The team is just growing bigger. Eric, you're part of the team.
I'm going to.
You're part of Hope for Ghana.
I am.
That's it. There's hope.
Whew. Thank you, my friend.
This
was fantastic.
Eric, this is amazing.
And I appreciate you taking the time out. It means a lot to me.
It was great. It was an honor. An honor to be here. Your place is, wow, this is electric here.
Thank you.
Not literally with electric electric
Nothing's
guitars.
plugged in.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's got the vibe. Again, a positive, real
Thank you
beautiful
very
vibe.
much. Well, I definitely hope you come back in soon, too.
I can't wait.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thanks,
All right.
Eric.
We are out.
Thanks, guys.
God bless. There you go.
Eric. Woo!
Did you like it? Was it good?
I loved it. Loved it.
Man. I mean,
Was it good? Did it from your
you're
end?
phenomenal.
Okay.
And the story really comes across.
Good.
You're a great speaker. Are very articulate, and you're the passion that you have for the human condition comes through, Doctor.